The Victorian house sat at the edge of a quiet Massachusetts town, a looming silhouette that seemed to lean over the narrow street like it was listening. Its windows were dark sockets, its roofline crooked and uneasy. For decades, locals avoided, even walking past it at night, whispering stories of families that never stayed long, of tenants who left in the dead of night, leaving furniture and clothes behind as though they had fled from something breathing just beneath the plaster. When the Miller family bought the place in late October, the townspeople shook their heads. Another family, another mistake. James and Rebecca Miller were practical people. They had saved for years to buy a house, and this one seemed perfect spacious. Affordable, close enough to the town, but secluded enough for peace. Their 12-year-old daughter, Emily, was thrilled at the idea of having her own room with a bay window overlooking the yard. When they first toured it, the realtor's smile was thin. Her eyes darted into the walls as though she expected them to move. But James only saw opportunity. Rebecca saw history. Emily saw adventure. The first night seemed ordinary enough. They unpacked boxes, ate takeout on the kitchen floor, and joked about the creaks and groans of an old house settling. But when the house went still, when the town outside fell silent, Emily pressed her ear to the wall beside her bed and frowned. At first it sounded like the wind pushing through cracks in the siding. Then it shifted, soft, deliberate. A voice. A whisper, her name. She sat up, holding her breath. The whisper came again, from deep within the wall. Emily. She ran to her parents' room, insisting someone was talking to her from inside the house. James laughed it off, calling it a dream. Rebecca tucked her back in and promised her the house just had its quirks. But when Emily closed her eyes, she swore she could hear faint breathing through the wall. A wet, rattling breath, like lungs filled with dust dot by the second night. The atmosphere had changed. The air felt damp, heavy. Paint on the hallway wall bubbled as though something underneath was trying to push out. In the bathroom, when Rebecca turned the faucet, a thick black sludge coughed from the tap before clearing. She gagged and slammed it off, staring as the last drops dripped down the porcelain, leaving faint, rusty streaks. That night, James dreamed of scratching dozens of fingernails dragging across wood. A chorus of them, frantic and desperate. Emily began drawing what she saw. In her school notebooks, the pictures were grotesque faces stretching from the walls, mouths open as though frozen mid-scream. In every sketch, the eyes were hollow. When Rebecca asked her why, Emily said, "Because that's how they look when they're inside. They don't have eyes anymore." The third night, the whispers spread. James heard them in the kitchen while rummaging for a glass of water. They weren't words at first, just murmurs, overlapping voices too many to count. When he leaned closer to the wall by the pantry, the plaster felt cold, wet. He pressed his palm to it and pulled back slick with moisture. A voice rose above the others, low and guttural. Hungry. He stumbled back, nearly dropping the glass. And for a moment, he thought he saw something press from inside the wall like a hand, skin gray and cracked, reaching before sinking back. Into darkness dot by the fourth night, terror had taken root. Rebecca woke to footsteps above their bedroom, but the attic was empty, the dust undisturbed. Emily began sleepwalking, always toward the same wall in her room. She would stand there, forehead pressed to the plaster, lips moving in whispered conversation. When Rebecca shook her awake, Emily's skin was ice cold, her eyes unfocused. She said only one thing: "They're almost here." The house itself seemed to rot faster than it should. Wallpaper peeled overnight, revealing dark stains underneath, stains that smelled of iron and rot. The basement door began rattling on its hinges at random hours, though no draft passed through the house. James finally gave in to curiosity, descending the basement stairs with a flashlight. The smell hit him first sweet, cloying decay. He gagged, pressing his sleeve to his mouth. The light swept across concrete walls until it stopped at a locked door he hadn't noticed before. The wood was warped, blackened around the handle as if scorched. Embedded in the wood were dozens of handprints, pressed so deep they seemed burned in. He touched one with trembling fingers. It was sticky. That night, Emily's screams tore through the house. James and Rebecca burst into her room, finding her thrashing in bed, her sheets soaked in blood. They yanked them back, but the blood wasn't hers. It oozed from the wall, thick and hot, splattering the floor. Emily cried out, pointing as something pale and skeletal began to push through the plaster. A face emerged, first skin hanging. In strips, jaw slack, teeth exposed through rotted flesh. Then an arm, fingers curling and snapping as they clawed at the air. The Millers dragged Emily from the bed and slammed the door shut, listening in horror as the wall pulsed and the whispers grew into shrieks. Rebecca wanted to leave that night, but James insisted it was impossible to pack and drive in the storm that had rolled in. Lightning flashed, thunder rattled the window panes. Emily clung to her mother, whispering over and over, "They want me." By dawn, Rebecca found the bathroom sink filled to the brim with congealed blood. Strands of hair floated in it, clumps of teeth caught in the drain. She screamed, pulling Emily away from the doorway before she could see. The house groaned around them, the walls flexing almost imperceptibly, like lungs expanding. That evening, when James finally broke open the locked basement door, the light revealed a nightmare. The walls weren't just walls. They were packed, layered with bodies, hundreds of them fused into the structure. Faces twisted in agony jutted from concrete, some half-formed, some with mouths open in eternal screams. Arms protruded, fingers clawing, nails embedded in stone. Some of the eyes followed him, rolling in their sockets, wet and glistening. Others dribbled black tears. He stumbled back, the flashlight beam trembling as the bodies began to move, writhing, shifting as if trying to peel themselves free. A woman's half-torn lips moved. The whisper slithered out, "Join us." James ran up the stairs, slamming the door, but the sound followed him, scratching, pounding, fists from beneath the floor. That night, they tried to sleep in the living room, lights on, holding Emily between them. The air was thick with the stench of rot. At midnight, the whispers became deafening, a chorus echoing from every wall, floor, and ceiling. The plaster cracked, black fluid seeping through, pooling around their feet. Emily shrieked as hands burst out from the wall behind her, skeletal, fingers wrapping around her shoulders. James yanked her free, skin tearing beneath the grip, leaving bloody crescents across her arms. They tried to run. The front door refused to open, its wood bending inward like something was pushing against it from outside. Windows revealed only darkness, no town, no street, as though the house floated in a void. Rebecca smashed a chair through the glass only, to see it ripple like water and seal shut, leaving her holding blood-streaked shards that weren't glass but fingernails, clattering across the floor. Emily's screams grew ragged as the wall in the living room bulged outward, flesh-like veins, pulsating beneath cracking paint. A face emerged, larger than the others, its skin flayed, muscles twitching. It opened its mouth, and from within poured a slurry of Gore tongues, teeth, eyes spilling onto the carpet, steaming in the cold air. The stench was unbearable. Rebecca vomited, clutching Emily to her chest, thought the climax came swiftly. The walls all around them split open, hundreds of hands tearing through, dragging at clothes, hair, skin. James swung wildly with a broken table leg, smashing skeletal arms, but for everyone he broke, two more emerged. Blood sprayed across his face, hot and metallic. He screamed as fingers hooked into his mouth, pulling until his jaw cracked sideways. His body was yanked into the wall, flesh shredding as if being absorbed. His scream faded into the chorus of voices. Rebecca fought to hold on to Emily, but the floor beneath her pulsed, splitting open like a wound. Black tendrils wrapped her legs, dragging her downward. She shrieked Emily's name until her head was yanked back, her throat slashed open by jagged bone protruding from the floor. Blood sprayed across the ceiling as she disappeared. Gurgling into silence, Emily alone remained, struggling, clawing at the floor as the wall behind her opened like a hungry mouth. Her small fingers left trails of blood as her nails tore away. Scraping wood, her eyes met the flickering light of the lamp as her body was pulled in, slowly, agonizingly. Skin peeled from her arms as the wall devoured her, her scream piercing, cut short as her face sank into the plaster. The surface sealed over her, smooth again, save for the streaks of red sliding down. For a moment, silence fell. The house breathed in. Then, faintly, from deep within the walls, a child's voice whispered, "One more. We are not done." Days later, a realtor walked a new couple through the house, smiling thinly, her voice carefully cheerful. In the hallway, the husband paused, frowning at the wall. For an instant, he thought he saw a child's face pressed against it, mouth open in a silent scream. When he blinked, it was gone. He shook his head and followed the realtor. Behind them, faint laughter echoed through the walls.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.